You run the business, man. Sometimes you got to clear the customers out before, you know, you can get on. What the deal? What the deal? What the deal? I know y'all see the chat when you come in, like, follow, subscribe. You know what I'm saying? We almost at 500. You know what I'm saying? We get 500. We're going to give a giveaway. 600. We're going to give a giveaway all the way up till we hit the trillion. You feel me? You know what I'm saying? But I wanted to do this story on on um on somebody I feel like was forgotten with all this shit that's going on. You know what I mean? Clearly they didn't blew down on Adam about the cease and desist the Big U sent up there regarding the FaceTime, regarding the situation about him getting the phone call, Loose Cannon getting a phone call. 30 minutes later, they find out Nip get murdered, but he got the phone call first confirming the death before Nip was actually taken out. Well, it was the guy before all that. His name was Sandman. He was Eritrean, just like Nip. He rapped just like Nip. He was a 60, just like Nip. You know what I'm saying? And he was also put down just like Nip about a 60. And he was being managed by Big U, which I just found this out. You know what I'm saying? And his death is mysterious too. Still closed. I mean, it's unsolved like the rest of the homicides. You know what I mean? I ain't gonna say it's a bad thing. I ain't gonna say it's a good thing, but luckily Nip's murder was solved. You know what I'm saying? Because it's a lot of them to go unsolved, like Sandman's did. But you can check him out. All you do is put in Sandman rolling 60, and you'll see the video. Just like on the picture I put on the screen, it's him and Nip up there. That's in front of Nip's shop when he had Sloss and Tees. You know, and they was, picking their back and forth, hollering about, where they come from, their homeland, and all that. Now, you do some history on Eritrea, they don't get along with Somalia. You know what I'm saying? They don't get along with them. So, they're close. You know what I'm saying? Eritrea's on the cusp of the African border, right next to the Red Sea. You know what I'm saying? And it's supposed to have been the stomping ground of Jesus. You know what I mean? But they're not allies with the United States. Eritreans do not get along with the United States. They're a capitalistic state, country. They're a dictatorship. They're monitoring everything. You know what I'm saying? Somalia is different. Somalia is an open country. It's free will and all that. Eritrea is not. United States really don't like Eritrea because they can't get over there and drill. You know what I mean? What's going on? My guy. They can't get over there. What's up? They can't get over there and they can't drill out of their resources from over there. They recently just did a deal with Canada, which I think is another reason why Trump put them tariffs on Canada, because it was the Canada corporation went over to Eritrea and they started digging. What's good? And they was picking up, man, they had gold bars coming up out that sand, man. It was so big. Platinum, gold, copper, silver, uranium, diamonds, because that land had never been drilled on. It had never been touched. They keep it isolated because of that. They don't want the Western countries to come over there and fuck with their land. So, and it's owned by a dictator. I think the president might have been the fucking president over there for 40 years. You feel me? What the deal? You getting in this motherfucker sub, man, sub. We get us to 500 so we can get that good giveaway. We're gonna give out the gift card this time. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna give out like a $50 gift card. You know what I mean? But so that's where he's from. That's where they was from. Him and Nipsey and Sam and the dad. Actually, Nip's dad and Sam's dad and Sandman's dad all was fighting the communism war over there, and they was rebels. Black Sam and Nipsey's father got up out of there, and so did Sandman's dad, and people got up out of there. But Sandman went back and joined their army. They got pictures of him fighting their army, fighting the wars over there, training with the army. And his plan was to come back to the United States, bring refugees from over there, and try to overthrow this government. That's the type of shit he was on. So, the United States really don't They really didn't give a fuck about Eritrea. They don't like them because, like I said, if you're not an ally with the United States, you're a fucking enemy, and that's how they look at it. There was another Eritrea that got murdered too. A lot of them get murdered over here. If truth be told, Snoop Dogg was on trial. When he was on trial with him and his bodyguard, that was Eritrean guy that they killed. He was the gang member. He was a rolling 60 too. They killed. Because a lot of them come over here and they come to California. They move in that district, the Slauson district. You know what I'm saying? The Crenshaw district, and they become involved in the rolling 60s or the 40s or the 20s or, you know, or the 50s or you know. So they get involved with them because that's the area they grew up in. And, you know, it's hard not to bang when you come from that area. They're not going to let you just... Now, you could be a civilian, don't get me wrong. But majority of the time, you're going to join the set. That's just what it is. You're not going to walk past us every day. See us out here bigging it every day. And us not fuck with you. Now, if you in the sports, that's one thing. But us not fuck with you and us keep us off you if you ain't gonna join the set. So most of the time they join the set. You know what I'm saying? And if you're not from the West Coast really, East Coast too, but the West Coast and the Midwest, West Coast and the Midwest, you really wouldn't understand the gang culture. Like, it's a whole different life of its own. Okay? That saying nobody's bigger than the set is true. Okay, that shit is true. Nobody's bigger than the set. You know, having to answer to somebody. All that shit is real. All that shit is true. You know what I'm saying? Just like Big U. And if his paperwork is good, when he go to prison, he gonna have just as much authority in there as he did on the streets. He might have more. You know what I'm saying? So, with that being said, gang banging is a whole different lifestyle out there. That's just the concept, that's the makeup, and that's how they roll. It's a way of life. You know what I'm saying? They make millions of dollars off gangs out there on the West Coast just by selling the colors and the bandanas and the hats and the way they got the shit sectioned off. They make money off of that. They make fucking $2-3 billion a year off of the revenue from gangbanging alone. All the way down to the goddamn funeral homes just burying the gang members. So, they make a lot of money off gangs. It ain't like that coming back across the country where they isolated and they segregated and then they persecuted and all that. They ain't like that out in the West Coast because they came to say, look, man, it is what it is. There's too many of these motherfuckers for us to be able to try to govern them all. So, we got to work with them instead of working against them. And that's basically the mindset of BL. That's why they got the grid program they was talking about Big U was a part of. Most of them is ex-gang members that own them contracts. You know what I'm saying? Or when one of the, like, okay, when Nip got killed, they had some shit called 60 Days and 60 Nights. All right? And all gangs got that. From the Crips to the Bloods to the fucking Latins. You know what I'm saying? They all got that. You know what I mean? They all got a code where they use, and even the police will follow it. They'll get on TV and say, yeah, the Crips put out a curfew. This faction of the Crips or this faction of the Bloods put out a curfew, and it's for nothing, everything, power rule over everything. Meaning, if you ain't on power rule and you on the streets, we knocking you down. You know what I'm saying? And they all got different slangs, but they understand that. And the news will get on there just like it's a fucking hurricane or tornado alert. They'll tell the public, yo, it's 60 days, 60 nights, or it's power rules over everything, or it's brim or nothing. And what that means is, if you in a part of that faction of that gang, and we catch you out, it's up. You know what I'm saying? Now, when you come across and you going into the South and the East, it ain't like that. You can't. They're not gonna announce that type of shit on the news. But out in the West Coast, even the Midwest, they do. The state I'm from, yeah, You got gang members who hibernated from the West Coast, came to the Midwest, started factions, real factions. Well, a lot of us had to go back to the West Coast. You know what I'm saying? Go visit the heritage. You know what I mean? So it's real. That shit is real. You know what I mean? So getting back to what I'm saying, when you're a part of these motherfucking factions like this, and you move in a certain way and they don't like it, yeah, your own gang will take care of you. They'll discipline yourself. In the eyes of the 60s, they felt like they had to discipline Nipsey. Thank you. You know what I'm saying? They had to discipline Nipsey. And that's how they feel. They feel like they had to discipline Sandman. He was going against the code. He was going against the grain. You know what I'm saying? And it's mighty ironic that he was getting managed by Big U also. This ain't no secret. Everybody knows this. You know what I'm saying? Everybody knows this. They got the man on wiretap talking about, man, he the only OG still knocking motherfuckers down. Like, you know what I'm saying? So he really, when the cat from Friday came out and said that his character, Debo, was betrayed off of Big U, he took that shit to heart. He took that shit to his mind, and he took that shit personally. He took that shit and embedded it, and that's where he moved. Because the check-in shit is real, yes. But everybody that comes to LA don't gotta check in with the 60's. Feel me? Like, everybody, okay, you're Latin. Count, king, queen, Sereno, Norteño, whatever faction you may be. When you come to LA or California, you gonna check in with the 60's? No. Okay? When I go to California, I'm not checking in with the 60's. No, I'm gonna call ahead and let my people know, yo, I'm coming through, but I'm checking in with my tribe. Feel what I'm saying? Regardless of the fact. Now, if you are non-affiliate and you're a civilian, yeah, 9 times out of 10, yeah, you might check in with it. But if you affiliated, I'm not going out there and checking in with this. No disrespect to the 60's, the 40's, the 30's, the 20's, all the way to the 100's, to the 140's. You know what I'm saying? I'm not checking in with the Rips. I'm checking in with the Hounds. That ain't my party. That's not my tribe. You understand what I'm saying? So, I'm going to check in with the Hounds. Feel me? And ain't nothing they can say to me about it. Because why? I'm not a rag. So why would I check in with them? Right? So that check-in shit is real. All right? So that's the one part. 2, once, I wouldn't even say the fight. I wouldn't even say the fight still Nipsey face. I wouldn't even say that. I wouldn't even say the diss record because they got tied after the diss record. Once he signed that deal with Atlantic and Puma and Vector 9 and once he started doing all that, his seal was fake. His fate was sealed. He would have had to leave California. He was not going to be able to stay in California in Watts and move around like he was doing, knowing the head of one of the heads of because there's no one head of the 60's. Okay? That's another thing people got to get misconstrued. Okay? Now, you might got a lot of rank amongst your tribe, but there's not one motherfucker that's just the biggest out of all of them. Now, he claimed that. He's saying that on tape. Yeah, he's saying that on tape. But it's not one that's just bigger than all of them. You know what I'm saying? That's just not how it works. Now, but the aspect of the situation, at the same time, I think he could have just moved out of Watts. But he wasn't going to leave. You know what I'm saying? He wasn't gonna leave. And not just him being marked, his whole camp was marked. You know what I mean? Because none of them had more rank than the motherfucker they didn't get along with. You know what I'm saying? And I think, and that's the same thing happened to Sandman. It's the same thing. Same aspect, same situation. Same genre, same camp, same motherfuckers involved. The man come out of the studio, he get gunned down and come out. It's about his own situation. So you gotta understand, like, who gonna check it? Who gonna check that situation? Who gonna step up and say you wrong? Nobody. You know what they gonna say? Hey man, it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? Because if they would have checked the situation, a lot of other bullshit wouldn't have happened. The man would have been kicking over cameras and shit when YG came down there. Because he wasn't involved. He couldn't cut into YG. He knew he couldn't cut into YG because YG was a power. He couldn't cut into YG. But he had Nip. He cut into Nip. Nip had to run phase behind that. Because he wasn't involved. Feel what I'm saying? But him trying to be involved in everything is why he's sitting in the fucking federal jail right now. Because there's some shit you just gotta leave alone. You can't be involved in everything. It's some shit I don't want to be involved in. You can't be involved in everything, man. You can't be trying to attach yourself to everything. Because you're going to attach yourself to some shit that you can't disattach yourself from. And right now, that man feel like I shouldn't have got attached to all this shit that I'm attached to now because now I got all these charges. And I'm fighting the government. You know what I'm saying? And that's just on hindsight, looking in. You know what I mean? That's why he blew down on Khaled. That's why he was talking about I need Khaled's number, da-da-da-da-da. Because he was trying to cut in. He wanted in on everything. He felt like if you touched LA soil, or you was rolling and you let somebody touch LA soil and didn't call us, it was a problem. It was a problem. You know what I'm saying? It was a problem. And that's how he felt. Same thing with the Quando Rondo situation. He calling himself a rolling. They knock his man down. What did he say? If you would have contacted me, that wouldn't have happened. Yeah, because he would have contacted them niggas and told them to stand down. He probably was right. You know what I'm saying? He probably was right. PNB Rock. I don't think he set PNB Rock up or nothing like that. Because it was a whole set of different rips that hit PNB Rock. They wasn't 60's. They wasn't. They was Jordan down. They wasn't 60's. You know what I'm saying? There was a whole different camp. He was in there, yeah, but that was a whole different camp. They ain't had nothing to do with that. Pop Smoke, that's a whole different camp. They ain't had nothing to do with that. Feel what I'm saying? Now, if they'd have been Rollins, then it'd have been different. But there wasn't. So, at the end of the day, you got to take into consideration. At the end of the day, yeah, his range was, his arms was long, his range was long, but at the same time, you got to fall up under that umbrella. Basically, is what I'm saying. You feel what I'm saying? When Mozzie touched down in L.A., he didn't go and check in with Roland. He went to the red team. Now, if you claiming that blue team shit, then yeah, you gonna have to answer to them niggas because he was one of the biggest ones moving around out in Watts. But LA is big as hell. California big as hell alone. LA big as hell. It's standing 3 million people in LA. You can see a motherfucker one time and never see him again in LA. So, no. You know what I mean? But like I said, it's just mighty funny, because now the situation came up with the cease and desist video and all this stuff about Nip, but he wasn't the only one. You know what I'm saying? Now they bringing shit up about Fats, but nobody's talking about Sandman. Nobody's talking about Sandman. Sandman didn't have a name Nip had. Sandman didn't have a name that Fats had. Okay? He didn't. Sandman ain't got the family that the Rashawn Williams boy got. He don't got that. But at the same time, he had a voice too. He was a person too. You know what I'm saying? And I ain't telling motherfuckers to go investigate and find. No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, speak on Sandman too. Speak on Sandman too. Because I was at the, he rapped. He was an artist. He was managed by Big U. For sure. Anything that was coming out of that motherfucker 60 camp was managed. Hell, Eric Holder was managed by Big U. He was managed by Big U too. Yeah. So that's it. That's all, man. You know, he was managed by him too. So you know, that's just and that's how the cookie crumble. That's how the cookie crumble, man. Like I said, man, like, follow, subscribe. We out here, man. Live at the MBR compound. You know, little breezy day today. It's kind of chilly, but it's kind of the sun out. You know. Like I said, when we get to 500, we're gonna give a giveaway away. Every 100 subscribers we give it. I was gonna do like every 3,000 subscribers, but we ain't gonna do that. I'm fucking with y'all. Y'all fucking with us. Y'all helping us build this network. Y'all part of this team too. So every 100 subscribers, we giving out a donation. And for the ones that come in and blown back out, hit the subscribe button, man. Hit the subscribe button. You know, hit the subscribe button. Definitely do that. We definitely appreciate the support. Like I said, we live at the MBR compound. You know what I mean? We do not, like I said, you peep it up there. We live at the MBR compound, baby. We are not a capper over here. Everything we do is real. You know what I'm saying? Everything we do is real. Everything we do is real. You know what I mean? Everything we do. You be the sign. Like I said, the merch on there too, man. Grab some of that merch. Grab some of that merch, man. Grab some of that merch. Definitely in there, man. If you see the video, tap the comment. The link is in there. Go and copy some of that merch. Come right to your doorstep. If you can't come in here and get off the ground floor, we'll send it right to your doorstep. We'll send it right to your doorstep. But yo, I'm gonna cut this video because, like I said, it takes a little longer to render. So we're gonna cut this joint. But like I said, like, follow, subscribe. RIP to Nip, RIP to Fats, RIP to Sandman, RIP to the Williams boy, you know. And we're gonna keep it pushing, man. We're gonna keep it pushing. Y'all help us build this channel so we can help give back. And it's one love. We out.